Welcome to Legends, a series that delves into the lore within Horizon Forbidden West. In the aftermath of Far Zenith's defeat and the rescue of Beta, we were left to face the truth concerning the greatest enemy to life on Earth, the source of the unknown transmission that led to Gaia's demise, the rise of Hades, and the Zenith's arrival on Earth, Nemesis, a force that tore their colony on Sirius apart in a matter of hours, and sent the most advanced human society ever known running for their lives. Those aware of this imminent threat have taken it upon themselves to rally as much support as possible to solve the problem of stopping Nemesis. Though a means to stop the AI will surely reveal itself in time, the subject that we mean to discuss is one that our heroes must explore if they have any hope of success: the task of understanding the enemy, of understanding Nemesis. Let's begin with what we were told by Tilda atop the Zenith base.
I see you've been busy.
And you've been lying. Nemesis, what is it?
It is us. The minds of Far Zenith. Or failed copies of them, anyway. Back on Sirius, some of my peers weren't satisfied with physical immortality. They wanted digital transcendence. A way to upload their minds into any form, organic or mechanical. Nemesis was a failed experiment to that effect. Abandoned, but never erased. An immense database of our memories, emotions, and prejudices left to fester.
And it destroyed your colony?
We didn't realize it had gained sentience until it broke containment. It had everything it needed from our memories. Security protocols, system specs, override codes. It hacked everything before we knew what hit us. Then it took over our printing facilities, allowing it to gain any machine form it needed to wipe us out.
But why?
Imagine being trapped alone for decades with only the twisted echoes of megalomaniacs for company. It hates us for abandoning it to that prison. And now that it's free, it will do anything to destroy us, including denying us a safe harbor on Earth.
The extinction signal that woke Hades. You didn't send it. Nemesis did.
Finally, you understand. And when that failed, it launched from Sirius to finish the job itself. Which is why we must flee to a random planet circling a random star, somewhere it can never find us.
Despite Tilda being less than forthcoming when it comes to the Zenith's intent before this point, her testimony is the best lead we have concerning the AI's creation, motivation, and potential capabilities. Before we go too far into the deep end, let's examine the physical form it's chosen to traverse deep space and take the fight to Earth. Judging by its appearance, Beta's observations, and Zenith technology as a whole, it's likely what we're dealing with is a massive swarm of nanomachines, harnessing the technology developed for those on Sirius. This manner of nanotech is far more advanced than anything developed on Earth pre-Zero Day. Not only due to the amount of time the Zeniths were able to spend advancing it, but because nanotech disasters on Earth during the clawback hobbled the development in the field from reaching the heights it may have known before humanity's fall. Of course, even in the face of these setbacks, nanotech still managed to be weaponized, a choice that ultimately led to total extinction in the 21st century. As the Pharaoh Plague swept across the globe, it was its nanohaze that allowed the machines to convert biomass into fuel, driving their self-replication and their unstoppable spread. Being that Nemesis essentially has access to all the memories and insights of its creators, it's almost certain it has significant knowledge of the Pharaoh Plague and just how effective it was in the eradication of life. If I had to speculate just how Nemesis planned on carrying out its assault on Earth with the advanced nanotech it has available to it, a plague brought on by Nemesis could be even more effective in reducing the biosphere back to zero than what brought about the first apocalypse. Next, I feel we need to examine the main goal behind the creation of Nemesis, That being the ability to transfer the consciousness of those within to whatever vessel they desired, organic or mechanical. This means the Nemesis hive mind may be able to assume control of any machine, autonomous facility, or even humans it sets its sights on. This would mean the ancient chariot line, Gaia's machines, and the hunter-killers of Hephaestus may all be at risk of forced manipulation, along with the facilities that created them. Even more disturbing is the fact that this entity could potentially turn the allies we have come to know and love against Aloy in some way, forcing her to once again choose between her found family and the greater good. All scenarios that must be studied and prepared for if Aloy is able to defeat her greatest enemy to date. These are all terrifying possibilities to be sure, but are only symptoms of a mind which became malevolent due to the circumstances of its creation. A process that, in my opinion, requires us to dig deeper than what we've been told to grasp the true nature of the AI. As previously mentioned by Tilda during the final story mission of the game, Singularity, Nemesis is the shared consciousness of the Zeniths who contributed to the experiment. This was eventually deemed a failure and abandoned. Decades would pass, and eventually, Nemesis would achieve a level of sentience, allowing it to escape and eviscerate all the Zeniths had built off-world. Though I believe this to be true, I feel this is only scratching the surface of what turned Nemesis onto its path of destruction. Echoes of the minds of megalomaniacs left to fester among themselves is what we're told, but I feel this focused aggression within the AI stems from something far more specific. An inner conflict that may go all the way back to the founding of Far Zenith. In the early 2060s, Peter Shimvumbe would establish Far Zenith with two principal dreams in mind: resurrecting the Odyssey Project and achieving immortality for the human mind. For the latter, he would found the Center of Transhuman Studies, which would launch a series of ambitious consciousness upload experiments over the following 5 years. Experts of the time still estimated that true digital transcendence was still far out of reach. But Far Zenith was one organization that would consistently make groundbreaking advancements in various fields far beyond what was considered possible. The Odyssey Project, originally founded in 2041, was estimated to be completed and launched by its multinational coalition in 2080. FZ would purchase the abandoned project in 2061, successfully resurrecting the colony ship to completion, launching just 4 years later in 2065. According to Zero Dawn Alpha, Patrick Bouchard-Klein, ectogenesis research conducted by the organization was able to vault past 50 years of technological shortcomings in the field before new leadership forced their embryologists to focus on different projects. With their track record, I don't think it's too far-fetched that Far Zenith and the Center of Transhuman Studies may have been closer to successful consciousness upload than anyone may have predicted. This is important because if successful consciousness upload was achieved in the 21st century, one Zenith in particular may be at the heart of Nemesis. Before humanity's time in the 21st century came to a close, Peter would pass away, leading to several key decisions that would change the course of Far Zenith and its members. After his death, the new High Council of Far Zenith would no longer focus its efforts towards ectogenesis research, instead working to advance life extension therapies. In this, Peter's dream of exoplanet colonization that mirrored the original intent of the Odyssey would die with him, and transform it into the escape pod for the world's most powerful that we came to know. Members would no longer be approached solely on merit, but by their checking accounts, to raise funds to launch before the Pharaoh Swarm consume the planet. Though this is only speculation at this point in time, I think it's more than possible that the consciousness of Shimvumbe may have been among those who departed Earth nearly 1,000 years before Horizon's present. If this is the case, by the accounts that we have, no one would have hated what Far Zenith would eventually become more than Peter. In life, Shimvumbe was the world's foremost philanthropist, known for his childlike optimism and desire to empower the human species, not abandon it. An individual who saw hope for humanity's future and made lucrative investments that reflected that mindset. His firm, Zeleny Capital, made post-clawback investments in startups designed to lower medical costs and fund micro-corporations in Africa. After his death, his legacy with Zeleny, much like Far Zenith, would be tarnished by those who took his place. Investments based on playing the odds of humanity's worst instincts. Simply put, much like Dr. Sobek, Peter appears to be one of the few powerful figures of his day that truly wished to use his power and influence for the betterment of mankind in his present and hopefully the future. This is where our speculation really begins. Under ordinary circumstance, this story would just be another tragic instance of a life spent in the service of others being stomped out by the very institutions built to forward this legacy. But in the case of Peter and his transhuman goals, a final retribution may have been within reach. If Peter's consciousness is among those within Nemesis, it's likely to be the first individual mind transferred into this present state, the most experienced in this manner of existence, and one that could have harnessed the others within to bend to his will, given enough time. In this, I find it odd that Tilda and the other Zeniths would be the least bit surprised at Nemesis becoming a sentient entity, as the entire project revolved around preserving and enabling the consciousness of sentient beings. I think what really may have been surprising here is the project originally didn't exhibit sentient behavior, potentially becoming the reason it was deemed a failure in the first place. Potentially a ruse, buying Shimvumbe several decades to formulate and execute his swift retaliation against those on Sirius. An attack, I believe, goes deeper than just a prisoner destroying its captors. Historically, Horizon has often leaned on symbolism and iconography lifted from various mythologies. Gaia, Hades, Ninmah, along with many others, directly reflect the projects and institutions that bore their name. Though in the modern English language, the word Nemesis is most commonly used to identify a long-standing rival or archenemy, its roots trace back to Greek myth. Nemesis is most commonly recognized within the pantheon as the goddess of divine retribution and revenge, specifically to those mortals guilty of hubris against the gods, a practice that was often in the service of balance and justice, carried out with little to no remorse. If Shimvumbe is at the helm of Nemesis, I'd imagine there would be quite a bit of personal animosity against the Zeniths, but their obliteration also strikes true as an impersonal reckoning, a swift and unceremonious end for abandoning a world they left to ruin. A group who truly saw themselves far above the rest, worthy of salvation and untethered by the mortal coil of those doomed to perish. In this, hope for Earth's survival may hang in a final judgment of what the planet has become since the Odyssey's exodus. Is this world reborn through Zero Dawn worthy of mercy, or will it be judged wanting? Much like our present, humanity has exhibited both a great capacity for compassion and progress, but also violence and oppression. For every Aloy, there's a silence, an Avon for Jiran, a Sobek for a Pharaoh. Sun versus shadow, life versus death, the selfless versus the selfish. A theme that may not only be central to the thread of Nemesis, but also lies at the heart of Horizon as a whole. What people of great ability choose to do with the gifts they're given. Where Elizabeth's final legacy was to ensure the success of an Earth she would never live to see, Aloy has chosen to fight for the survival of her world, for better or worse. So, when it comes to understanding Nemesis, I think the most important question to ask is this: is Shimvumbe among its shared consciousness? And if so, how much of his childlike optimism and empathy remains, or is vengeance and retribution all it knows? This balance may just hold the key to survival on Earth, and if much of the world can be spared from the unfathomable wrath Nemesis can harness against our heroes. Only time will tell if the founder of Far Zenith may be the key to salvation or annihilation. And with that, our journey comes to an end. If you'd like to see more content like this, likes and shares are always appreciated, and if you're hungry for more Horizon lore, consider subscribing and checking out the rest of our lore library. Also consider supporting the channel on Patreon, so we can keep making content just like this. Check out the link in the description. And as always, thanks for watching, and keep questing.